Welcome to Success in Motion. Join us as we dive deep with top leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, uncovering strategies to grow, scale, and succeed.
Welcome back to the Success in Motion podcast. My name is Alex Burho and I'm your host. And today we're going to be joined by Remington Carlson. Remington is an active real estate investor who's done over 200 deals. He's also built out a wonderful team and taught me a lot about what I know about real estate as well. So Remington, thank you so much for coming on here.
Glad to be here, Alex. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So Remington, can you go ahead and just give us a quick snapshot of your business and what you're working on right now?
Well, I'd say that the current snapshot is that we're focused on a lot of different land-focused projects. And part of that, of course, includes building a team that can run that play pretty reliably, strategically looking ahead and to determine what kind of opportunities we want to continue pursuing and potentially new strategies that we'll use in the future. And then, all the capital that needs to be put together in order to make all those deals happen. So it's kind of trying to seamlessly integrate those three things.
Absolutely. Trying to get a lot of moving pieces going together. So
Exactly.
I know a lot of people, they talk about real estate. Some people have a deal or two. Let's go ahead and dive into your story a little bit. How did you come to being a full-time real estate investor?
Well, it started with me. I'd say it started with the first piece of real estate I actually ever bought, which was my primary residence. And you're probably familiar with this and a lot of other people, but it was a kind of a house hacking opportunity that we did back when it was really easy to find those opportunities. This was in 2013. We bought a house that we basically lived in as a duplex. So we lived upstairs, rented the downstairs, and then when we moved out, we just kept it, held on to it, and then did that same kind of strategy with a few other properties, got into a couple larger multi-unit properties, and that was the beginning of my my real estate endeavors. In parallel, I was also in the Navy at the time, so I could only do so much, and I got to a point where I was really engaged with our active duty operations that we were doing, and so I basically put all my real estate workings on hold until about 2020, which is when I came off of a deployable uh, deployable active duty situation. I was active duty still, but I was a shore. I was on a shore duty if you're familiar with that. So that meant I had kind of my weekends and evenings available for the most part, and that's when I started, digesting some real estate education opportunities, found some mentors, and then found the strategy that I'm doing today. Started with that, and kind of have built onto that since then.
That's awesome. So let's say someone who's listening is interested in getting more involved in the real estate world. What suggestions would you have for them, or what tips would you have for them?
Well, I think the first thing is to really be clear on what you actually want out of real estate, because it's been a really popular movement over the last like 10 years for sure, maybe even a little bit longer, where people equate, financial success and passive investments with real estate, which is not necessarily true. And people who are looking for financial freedom, they think real estate is the way to do it. And so really taking a step back and be like, why do I even want to get involved in real estate? To understand some of those motives is the reason, because you're looking to learn more about real estate so you can be an active investor or some sort of active, participant in real estate investments and, potentially grow that? Or are you really looking to just get the financial benefits of investing in real estate? And if that's the key, or maybe the financial benefits of just investing in general, then that's where you might want to consider how you invest in real estate, or even what financial vehicle you want to use in general. Because people don't realize until after they get into it and after they get sick of it that there's a lot of active, participant required or participation required with real estate investing that you don't originally understand, the whole tenants and toilets kind of a thing.
Hmm.
It's just, it's something most people don't realize comes with the territory. And if you're not expecting that, you can kind of get, a few years into the road and you get burned out and you're like, this is not what I was expecting. And yeah, you might make some good money, but it ends up being, part-time, full-time job on the side, just managing your real estate. So get real clear with what you're looking for and then start finding some real estate strategies that align with what you're looking for. And certainly find someone who's done it before and knows what they're doing that is willing to, teach you a little bit along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive into that a little more because like you were saying, a lot of people think real estate and it's all kind of the same thing. Let's talk a little bit about what does your day-to-day look like as an active real estate investor? Like what kinds of things are you doing? What activities are you in charge of? Just catch us up on that.
Well, that's a loaded question, I'll say. Uh, because I feel like as I got started in real estate, I was like, I want to invest in real estate. Then I realized that I don't always want to be doing the day to day that is required, that is required for investing in real estate. And I realized I'm like, hey, I can do more and get more out of this if I build a team to help me invest in real estate and help me, really just offset my strengths with other people's strengths. Basically, you could do more together than you can individually. So with that principle, I realized that like, hey, I want to work with people doing this. And what that came with and what I learned is that, okay, I need to learn how to build a business. The business that I'm building is a business that invests in real estate.
Hmm.
And they're two very different things, or at least it's, you've got your analysis that you might go through or your playbook to make sure you have a good real estate investment strategy for any given deal. But the other side of it is how do you build a functioning, well functioning business? And they're not necessarily interrelated. Of course, the real estate investment makes you the revenue that you need in the business to support it, but the all the things that go into running a business that is not unique to real estate is still there. And so you got to be able to balance both if you go down that path. So that was one I wasn't originally planning on, but that's just where it led to.
Awesome. And as you've kind of been led to this building your business and everything, what would you say has come easy to you that might be a little difficult for some of the other people?
Well, what came easy versus what might be difficult? I'm really comfortable with the idea of leveraging either your time or your money. And when you're used to leveraging as an investor, most people are used to leveraging their money for sure. Like that's the traditional example would be you go to buy a property and instead of paying for the whole thing with cash, you're going to leverage the cash you do have and get the bank to maybe pay for 80% of it. So that's a typical, leveraging your money. The other side of it is leveraging your time, and that's where you start to hire people to get more out of the time that you have. Now, of course, that involves, paying them as well. But you get into a territory where you get a return on investment just because of your time and a return on investment from the money that you invest in your team and in your business. And there's a little bit less certainty involved when there's a business attached to it because there's more variables, things can change. And I'd say I feel like I'm very comfortable with the idea of leveraging my time and money both within real estate and within building a business. And yes, there's a lot of unknowns in business, but I just kind of embrace it and realize that like the answer is doing that. You just got to figure out how to do it, not whether or not you want to do it.
Mhm. Absolutely. Now, so it's been a little easier for you to be able to leverage that or being comfortable doing it. What challenges would you say you've had to go through or overcome as you've done this?
Well, I'm a very analytical and process based individual. I think at the level of like, I've got all these different parts. How do I fit them together? And some of the areas that I have a more difficult time with is like the interpersonal relationships that go into building a team and, really working well with people. And that's some of the challenges that I've had. And rather than really try and get good at something I'm not naturally good at, I've tried to offset those weaknesses with people on my team that have those strengths, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So it's really difficult to like really improve on your weaknesses. Now, of course, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but the general idea is that you can have people on your team that are able to fill in those gaps at a much higher capacity, and it's very natural for them and they like doing it rather than trying to figure out how to strengthen your weaknesses and cover that gap yourself.
absolutely. Now, let's take a little step back. So that's kind of the day in the life of a real estate investor, all this different stuff, building up your business, making sure you're finding people who complement you. So I know a lot of people in general are more looking for that passive income. Again, you talked about passive investing versus active investing. What are some of your thoughts on how to create passive income and that can help supplement or even replace someone's active income?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I touched on this earlier, but there's a misnomer within certainly real estate, but not just real estate, that things get labeled as passive investing, and you got to be really careful of that. People say, "Oh yeah, real estate equals passive investing." It's not true. There's ways to structure real estate investing to be passive, but it isn't inherent. And so I'd say that with passive investing, you understand that, make sure you understand the investment that you're looking at or considering and what your participation actually looks like. I've seen other deals or other like passive investing opportunities. Some of them were like e-commerce and stuff like that, that I'm like, okay, yeah, you might be able to make it so it's passive, meaning you probably are building a team or building a system to then make it passive, but it can be very misleading the fact that, looking into some investments when they're truly not passive inherently, you have to make it passive. And then at the end of the day, like that's what goes into building a business is, you're building system and putting people in the right places and tools in the right places to, you know, turn some sort of time and money investment into a larger money investment. And whether that's applied to one strategy or another, it's still kind of what goes into building a business. So you got to be careful there. And a lot of the other true passive investments comes with um, some degree of knowledge or trust in whatever the investment is. So I say knowledge, meaning don't invest in what you don't know. And if you do invest in something that you don't know, so that's kind of like a caveat, you need to find someone you trust that knows how to invest in that thing that you don't know how to invest in, if that makes sense. So if you're going to do passive investing, you either need to know what you're doing, invest in what you know, or find someone that really knows what they're doing that you trust that is able to, able to guide you through those investment decisions or act on your behalf effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you personally, when you're thinking of a passive investment or trying to tell someone about a passive investment, what kinds of things would you look for to help you know, hey, maybe I'm investing in something I'm not as familiar with? What would be good to look for?
Um, Having a general financial understanding of what you expect to get out of the investment is a good start. While of course somebody can promise the moon and not deliver, um, you want to start with like what are the financial expectations? You're going to invest X amount, what the repayment schedule is, what the return on investments are, when you'll get those investments, what happens if things go wrong, and trying to do a little bit of homework on the financial side of it. And then you also have a responsibility for due diligence to vet the operator, effectively the operator being whoever's making decisions for you for that investment on your behalf. Of course, you're picking that person, and then once you've picked them, you've got to trust that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And what goes into that is, a lot of what goes into trusting anybody any other way. There's certain things you can do research on. You can do background checks. You can see what kind of certifications that they have. But the other side of it is it's a very gut feel where you just have a feeling of whether or not you trust this individual, because you're not going to be able to micromanage it, nor do you want to, because that's the whole point of a passive investment, is you're looking for something you don't have to manage.
Absolutely. So, as we're wrapping up our interview, and again, thanks for all that information on passive investing and your thoughts on it. But what exciting plans or initiatives do you have in the works for the next 6 months to a year?
This is what I really get excited about. So I'm glad you asked. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with it's a book called Traction, and they talk about a accountability chart or org chart for a company. At the top is the visionary role, where you basically, they come up with a bunch of new ideas about how a company might run, or new things it might do, or different ways it might do the things it's already doing. And I very much live in that role on a regular basis. Like, that's just part of what I do as a CEO for the companies that I'm involved in. And the things that I have planned for the future are typically, or not typically, are looking to be like some new strategies that we intend to implement regarding different ways in which we can invest in properties to make an impact ultimately. And the better we're able to make an impact, that will proportionally result in compensation. The law of compensation. The better you're able to do your job, the more demand there is for the service that you're providing, the more you're going to get compensated. And of course, there's a little bit of supply and demand in there as far as, how many other people are willing to do that. But that's a lot of times where the willingness of other people, or the ability for other people to do the services that we provide in real estate, there's just not a lot of people out there. Proportionally, there's not a lot of people out there that are creating opportunities in real estate. And that's why there's such a demand there, is because people are looking for those opportunities that need to be created. And so we've got some new investing strategies that we plan to put into work, which are going to create opportunities for us to serve with our the real estate products or services that we put together, as well as to work with passive investors that really want to be involved in the financial benefits of investing in real estate without doing it themselves. And so, those are the opportunities we're looking to create. And, we're looking to get more involved in land development. I am excited about some opportunities in regenerative agriculture that I'm exploring, which of course that is also centered on real estate, which I am passionate about. And as I learn more about these different investing strategies, it just kind of course, it makes me realize how much I don't know, but it's like there's so many different ways to skin the cat with real estate and, provide these different products and services. So I'm really excited about those coming up.
Yeah, this sounds like you got some really cool opportunities and stuff coming down the pipeline, which is great. So, Remington, I want to thank you so much for your time today and your thoughts and your insights. If someone wants to talk to you more and ask you a few other questions about anything you've talked about today, what would be the best way to connect with you?
I'd say, I'm pretty available via, email or phone. Give me a ring. You want me to, I can share my phone number right now. Is that
Yeah,
a good
go
way to
for
do
it.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 801-872-3417. I'd love to chat. And my email is remington@landinvestingsolutions.com. So, send me a message. Love to chat. And, I like connecting with people. That's part of what I do as a visionary in my company.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And for those listening, go ahead and connect with Remington on that number he gave. And we will catch you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning into Success in Motion. Want to share your story? Visit successinmotionpodcast.com/guest to apply and be featured on the show.